Okay, so welcome back. We're live now for the race stream. Majority of drivers now over at the grid, with the exception of kart number 1, which is George Placer, who I can only assume has gone for the quick toilet break that we offer all the drivers. But you can see there the rest of the drivers now formed up on the grid, patiently waiting for him. There does appear to be a gap on the second row, which will be for young Plaster. Digiboard displaying stop on grid, just to try and remind drivers to be looking at that screen as well, rather than the traditional start lights, which are still next to it as backup. And George Placer now heading back to his car. Climbing in now, he'll have Jack Green and Robbie Rigoli strapping him in to get him around to the grid as fast as possible. There's obviously drivers now on the grid that are cooling down. Engines running. George Placer now heads round to the grid. It'll form up. Looks to me as though we had Teddy Stevens on pole. George Placer now heading through. Pylon 2, all on his own, last car to the grid. It begins to slow down. So the marshals can grid him up. Yep, forming up on the second row in 4th position. Perhaps slightly lower than he would have been hoping for, but there's some very good drivers in this championship, so it's not necessarily surprising. So if you keep an eye on the digiboard where it's a stop on grid at the moment, any second now that will go to red lights. There we go, and here we go. There's the green and away we go. So as they come into stadium, so swapping your positions further down the grid, but the top 3 as they were on the grid. Ryan Margolis in first. Nice and clean so far, no contact from anybody as they head through pylon 2, hairpin 2, down into pylon 1. Margolis leading the way. Very, very close. 4th, 5th and 6th. Can Margolis hold his lead though as the race goes on? That is the question. So going through into hairpin 1 for the second time. It's Margolis from Harris. And then Teddy Stevens in third. Top 3 heading into pylon 1, very close now. Keeping it clean. Teddy Stevens having a look up the inside. Harris, nothing doing this time. So head into pylon 1. Order stays the same. Touch of oversteer from Harris, mid-corner at pylon 1. We've got to try and remember that wet patch as well. That would be a very, very costly mistake in these opening laps, and everyone's still very bunched up. The top 3 now spreading out as they come down the straight. to reappear from stadium exactly how they were. Through hairpin one they come. Margolus still leading. Really 3 battles opening up now. The battle for first, second and third, fourth, fifth and sixth, and then the battle at the back of the grid for seventh, eighth and ninth. As the field opens up again. I'll go just with a big lift on the way in. Trying to get the kart settled, doesn't want any of that oversteer he's experiencing in qualifying. So yeah, there is a small, it's got noticeably colder between qualifying and the race. It's an interesting side point. The track temperature may have dipped slightly less traction out there, as that middle battle is now just slowly catching up with this battle for the lead. Become a 6-kart battle. The drivers get back through elbow now. Still as they were at the end of lap 1. Margolus from Harris, from Stevens. Then kart number 1 in 4th place, George Plaster. There's those 4th and 5th now. Oh, and we've got a spin at pylon 1. We'll see who emerges from that, having lost the most time. So Marshall's dispatched, so there must be someone stuck. And Harris gets up the inside, but can't make his stick. Can he make his stick here? Not quite. Margolus gets back through as they head now down into yellow flag zone, so there will be no overtaking now. So still as they were. Harris now having a look. Slightly faster on the straight. Can't quite get past him. As they come through elbow, he might have a look up the inside again into hairpin 1. He knows that can work now if he's got the space. Doesn't quite have enough to get through. Keeps the tidy racing line for hairpin 2. Doesn't want to lose out to Teddy Stevens behind him. Has a look. Yellow flags are gone. As they come through now. Stevens having a look. Has a good run off the straight. Ducks to the right. Is going to get past him, surely. Teddy Stevens into second place as they enter stadium. And now he can go and try and get Margolus. If he can get an exit like he did last lap onto the back straight, then that is doable from where he is at the moment. Jack Harris. Oh, some contact. Some contact as Margolus came across towards the racing line. I can only assume he just wasn't quite aware enough of where his competitor was. But Stevens now going to be having a look, uses all the track, so does Margolus, and he doesn't look like he's got the speed deficit to get past him, but he's having a look. Nothing doing, he tucks back in. As they head now through hairpin 1 again. Stevens knows where he can get past. So does Jack Harris in third. He's done that overtake, couldn't quite make his stick. No contact this time as Margolis comes back across as he did last lap. Fairly standard racing line. They come through the S's. Stevens with a very, very defensive line into pylon 2. It's opened up the gap slightly but has lost some ground on Margolis. Margolis still leads. But let's have a look slightly further back. George Plaster defending hard. Kart number 5, that is Tyrone Mills. So Plaster versus Mills as they come through the S's. I will be keeping an eye on that battle for the lead as well, just to keep you informed. And there, Teddy Stevens having a look up the inside, can't quite make it work this time though. Nearly lost the place as well to the kart behind him. Managed to save that one though. So we go back to Plaster running very wide and then having to go defensive into hairpin 2. I don't know if he's planning that, but he's passed him. Has to leave space. Tyrone Mills not quite got the legs down the straight though, and Plaster gets back past him into pylon 1. And now Margolis going defensive down the straight. He's got the right hand side, he's got the run into stadium. It's going to make him try and go around the outside, not enough speed there. He's going to have to tuck back in behind. Superb racing between these three, excellent. Very good, clean racing. No mistakes at all. Plaster going wide at hairpin 1 again. And Mills trying the undercut for another time. But Plaster with that better run out of hairpin 2 just goes back past him on the straight. I think he's going to have to try and think up something else to do to try and get that overtake done. Margolis again down the straight is going onto the right hand side, try and cover off any attack, force him to go around the outside, nothing doing there. So Jack Harris now still very much in that battle for third place at the moment, but he could easily be first if he gets a good enough run. Bumper to bumper, those front two as they head into pylon 1. Margolis opening up a lead on the way out of pylon 1, must have got a very good exit. As he sticks down right down the middle of the track, giving them no options. Trying not to give them any toe either. Now as they head back through into hairpin 1, what can Stevens do? Nothing doing. Jack Harris having had a little look but couldn't make it stick. Excellent racing between the top three. And now Plaster's lost out. I didn't see what happened, but that's a big gap. And now, let's just go back to that battle for the lead as they come back onto the straight. You see Margolis moves across over to the right-hand side. Stevens is alongside now as they head into, he's slightly ahead into stadium. There's a contact warning for kart 3 and kart 1 out on the digiboard. So that is George Plaster and Teddy Stevens. Obviously not racing each other, but individual warnings. So Plaster already closing that gap. He must have made a mistake. Might be why he's got the contact warning in the first place. And I have to say, there we go, he's taken the contact warning now. There's a bigger gap now than there was last lap between second and third. Jack Harris just slightly dropping off the pack, maybe hasn't quite got the stamina to keep with him at this pace. Margolius still very much in charge here. Comes across the right hand side again, trying to defend. He can only make one move. Doesn't need to do it though. Keeps it tight on the apex, not giving them any quarter to get past. Using all the area on the right hand side of your screen there, the runoff area. The hairpin 2 using all the track. And the same at pylon 1. The group now very, very close. It's going to be about who can get the best exit off of the straight. Margolius with a small correction mid-corner is going to scrub him off. Got bump drafting. Teddy Stevens bump drafting him now. Doesn't seem hugely beneficial. To head through hairpin 1. Through hairpin 2 and they cross the line again. And now actually we'll go back to this battle because George Plaster's caught it back up. He's going to get past into the S's. And he does, makes it stick. With a good exit onto the straight, he can open up some space as well. Mills will be disappointed, he had quite a lead as he coming into that last few laps. As you see the race of the lead just coming past the front of your screen there. Still the same order as they were a few laps ago. Now we'll go back to that race for the lead. Apologies for not covering many of the other drivers, but with a battle like this, I think we need to keep an eye on this. And Teddy Stevens still right up on the bumper of Margolius. Margolius sticking to the right hand side through Stadium on that white line, not giving him anywhere to get through. Going to be approaching some back markers fairly soon, within the next few laps I would have thought. I think the first back marker they will get to will be kart number 7. Kart 7 is Alfie Eaton, who I think was involved in that spin earlier on and may already actually be a lap down, I'm not sure. The leaders now come back into hairpin 1. We will hold at hairpin 1 and wait for George Plaster so you can see the gap. George Plaster and Tyrone Mills. Still very close. Tyrone slightly faster through hairpin 2. Close the gap down slightly. Leaders head into Stadium. Much the same as before, Margolius holding that right hand side all the way down the straight, trying to force Stevens to have to go around the outside of Stadium, which in the dry is not going to work at all. Oh, and actually a change of position. But he gets it back. Kart 12. which is Jack Harris. Now up into second place, having got past Teddy Stevens in hairpin 1. Didn't see any contact, but in fairness, I was watching George Plaster. I'm sure the marshals will pick up on it, if there was any. Knowing these three drivers so far in this race, I wouldn't be surprised if it was perfectly clean. And Teddy Stevens now all over the back of him. Maybe made him a small mistake. Margolis with a couple of kart lengths gap. As they cross the line again to complete another lap. And there is George Plaster and Tyrone Mills. As they head down into pylon 1, Mills got the racing line. Plaster goes defensive. Has to cover him off, does so expertly. Through the S's, bumper to bumper. Very tricky at the best of times, despite that water patch right on the apex. And Plaster comes across to cover him off. Does so. Mills just gives him a bump. As they came under the gantry, I saw a small nod of the head from Plaster as he got bump drafted. If they work together, they may be able to catch up with third place, but I don't think they'll be thinking that way. I think they are just fighting for this position here. As again, Plaster goes with the more defensive line into pylon 1. And Teddy Stevens has got back past Jack Harris for second place. Margolis still leading. Further up the road. You see there, kart number 7 is going to be the first back marker which the leaders will be catching. Kart 7 is Alfie Easton, as we mentioned earlier, and he has got a bit of a gap so far. But he's all on his own. We'll hopefully know when the leaders come round what he needs to do. Top 3 drivers head down underneath the gantry again. No warnings this time, all perfectly clean. Has been a very clean race so far. 2 issues warned, 2 warnings issued even. Both for contacts, sort of fairly minor. These things happen when you're going. Whoa, and there, Teddy Stevens gets past Margolis for the first time in this race. Margolis is not leading when they cross this checkered line. And he might lose the second position here. He might go from first to third. He's got the inside line through pylon though, and he's got that down pat. Bit of a gap now, but not a huge one. If you can get a good exit onto the straight, a little bit of correction from him though. Must have got on the slippery bit slightly. So Teddy Stevens now leading the race in the number 3. Margolis in second place in the number 6. And in the number 12, Jack Harris third place. As they now will have been able to see their first back marker as they head now through the S's. They can see who their next target is, and Margolis runs wide. Margolis runs wide out of pylon 2, and Harris gets past him. They've got a big gap now behind Teddy Stevens. What happened there? Did he just get on the slippery patch through the S's, load his tyres with water, and then just skid wide? I didn't see any contact. Unfortunately, that is part of racing. You've got to keep these things in your mind when you're going round. He has a quick look, no way past there. Now Teddy Stevens just driving away, really. Oh, Margolies' frustration there, I think, getting the better of him, hitting that curb on the inside of pylon 2 very hard. And Plaster and Wills have exchanged positions once again. As Teddy Stevens catches up with the first back marker. That could be problematic for him if he can't get past him soon. He's going to have Jack Harris and Ryan. Oh, and Plaster up the inside, hits the curb, runs wide. Can't make that move stick. As they head down into pylon 1 again. And Margolies really having dropped off the field now. They're still in a solid third place, with a big gap behind him, but for a driver that was leading for so long, he'll be quite disappointed with that, I think. And Stevens just getting past the kart 7, the back marker. Or maybe not, no. The back marker not conceding in the slightest. Going to make Stevens work for it to get past him, and that is, he's past him now. So that is making Jack Harris, that has closed the gap down significantly. As Harris gets past through Stadium. I don't know if that was a little partnership that they've got there, Jack Harris and the kart 7 of Alfie Eaton. Just to help him close that gap down, and he's done that fantastically. Gives the driver behind him a thumbs up as he comes down the straight. I don't know if he meant that as cheers mate, you let me through, or cheers mate, you've helped me catch him up. Now Margolies just there. The white crash helmet is still a large gap, unfortunately. But the leaders now bumper to bumper again. What can they do? Nothing doing this time. On the way in, can he get underneath him? Just had a look at the undercut there, I think, and didn't quite make it work. Very difficult with these cars. Overtaking is incredibly difficult when they're all so balanced and the drivers technically are very good. Their racing lines are consistent as well as fast. It makes overtaking very tricky, even in dry weather conditions like we've got today. George Plaster back past Tyrone Mills as they head into Stadium at the top of your screen there. And Margolies gets past Alfie Eaton and tucks in behind him. May as well use the slipstream if you can. They aren't racing for track position, but they are still young racing drivers, and it doesn't matter if they're racing for position, they will race each other hard. Alfie Eaton running a little bit wide just as he came onto the back straight. A contact warning for kart number 5. Now kart number 5 is, I think, Tyrone Mills, who is racing with George Plaster. Let's have a look on my sheet. It is Tyrone Mills. So they are coming through elbow now. They've taken that contact warning. I didn't quite see what it was for, but it's obviously been called by one of the marshals. And he gets underneath, does the undercut, makes it stick. Plaster comes back down the straight, gets underneath again. We have a slow moving kart just rejoining from pylon 1. Going to be right in the way. I think that's Alfie Eaton with a green visor. Plaster coming across, covering that right hand side, going to make him go around the outside. Nothing doing this time, but they got that back marker to mix things up a bit now. No blue flags here, remember. If they can't get past, then they're going to lose the position as Mills tries around the outside, goes for the undercut. Doesn't quite make it work this time. As you've seen, Plaster's very good out of hairpin 2, has a good exit, storms down the straight. There through into the S's. There's more where Mills catches up. Very good through pylon 2, uses all the track, has got the run on Plaster. Plaster being slightly lighter. The benefit of that comes in at the end of the straight, obviously. Just has to cover the right hand side. And now the race for the lead, the group there has spread out considerably. But Plaster runs wide, surely, if he can dive up the inside now. Doesn't quite. Mills can't quite make the best of that situation. Let's just have a look slightly further down the grid. Here we have cart 10, Kareem Horsford, and cart 9, who I don't think I've mentioned yet. Cart 9 is Nathan House. Haven't seen much of these two, but they are very, very close still, racing for position. House with a slight run on Horsford as they come through stadium. He's got the upper hand to tuck it in over the curb. Can they have a little look? Oh, has a little look up the inside of hairpin 1. Can't do anything with it though. Horsford runs a bit wide, has to correct his line, but not quite enough for House to get through. Just over my shoulder, I just had a glance at the race of the lead, still as it was, I'm afraid. Bit of a gap between them. So as they come down the back straight again, Horsford and House. Battles all the way down the grid, and we'll go back now. I think Plaster and Wills still behind that back marker, still bumper to bumper. Wills is going to get past here, I think. No, not quite. He's got the slipstream of that back marker, and Plaster's definitely almost being held up here. If they can find a way. Oh, there's some contact. There's some contact there as Plaster moved across. I don't think he quite realised how close Wills was. A little bit of contact, not enough, I would have thought, for a warning or a penalty. Certainly not enough for a penalty. Just to go down as a racing incident as they exit stadium. Still behind Alfie. Past him now, actually, sorry. Past him, so... They must have passed him in stadium. Let's go back now. Horsford and House. Oh, and Horsford has a little bit of extra speed through there. Made him run a slightly wide. Drivers having to really adjust their line for pylon 2 because of that wet patch. Not an ideal line at all. The House has to run down the back straight. Doesn't make a move. Unfortunately, I'm suffering with the light as much as my camera is. I can't quite see as they go into stadium. Very, very low sun, very bright. Still, I'd rather it was like this than it was raining. So it's Kareem Horsford in that Venom crash helmet. Leads the two down into pylon 1 again. Oh, and Horsford runs slightly wide. But so does House. We've got a yellow flag out. 4, I think, I can't quite see from here, but I think that may be Alfie. who's not having a good day in the slightest. George Plaster now with a gap, as you can see there, between him and Tyrone Wills. And where are the race leaders? There they are. So still closer, arguably closer now than they were before. It sounded as though one of those carts was a little bit ill. It sounded like the clutch was sort of scratching a bit. The race leaders come through. I couldn't quite, it wasn't either of them. I couldn't quite tell who the noisy clutch was. It's a mechanical part, it does wear out. It sounded fine, that's the first time I've noticed it was any worse. There, I think part number 4 has definitely got a rattle to it. It's not quite working exactly how it should, and there's been an incident there. House and Horsford have taken each other off. I didn't see who caused it. Horsford's managed to get away. Marshall is dispatched to give House a hand. Next driver through that zone is going to be George Plaster. No one around him at the moment. So won't have to defend madly. Will be able to lift off, take his time through the yellow flag, as all the drivers should be. Also just signalling to the marshals as he came past the front of the gantry there. I'm not sure what that was about. Teddy Stevens still leading this race. We've got a yellow flag out pit exit to try and cover that area slightly more, and that is going to impair. And the yellow flag zone now closed, but that yellow flag at pit exit won't have done any favours to Jack Harris. Oh, and more contact. Jack Harris forced to go over the wet patch, spins out, turns himself around, gets himself going, but has lost second place to Margolis. Ryan Margolis up into second place. And we'll have to see. I don't know as they can really call that anything other than a racing incident. He got on a wet patch, spun it around, but it was sort of, there was initial contact, yes, but didn't sound as though, didn't look even as though there was anything untoward with it. Ryan Margolis was a very strange line out of pylon 2 there. I think he was looking over his shoulder, seeing what was behind him. And there hasn't been a warning issued yet for that incident. So I think it was more of a racing incident. We're on the final lap now. So here we go. Where is the race leader, Teddy Stevens? There he is. So as he comes through the second hairpin for the last time. Got a back marker, Kareem Horsford ahead of him. Not going to mind too much if he gets stuck behind him. There's a bit of a gap behind him. Ryan Margolis, it looks as though he's going to get second place. So Teddy Stevens now comes onto the back straight for the final time. Kareem Horsford just ahead of him and takes the checkered flag. So in second place, Ryan Margolis, and in third, Jack Harris, after putting an absolutely stellar drive. Just a small mistake in the last few laps of the race just affected that. Teddy Stevens ignoring the checkered flag and has gone round again. I think he'll certainly get a telling off for that, if not some sort of warning, official warning. Margolis. And there you see Jack Harris with hands on head, just disappointed. Margolis giving a thumbs up, thumbs down. Sort of fairly indifferent about his race, so we'll be quite disappointed, but that's really not sounding nice at all. Part number 4. And Teddy Stevens, after his victory lap, now coming onto the bricks, cut number 3. And so that is that. So the last engine is being switched off, drivers will jump up, come up the stairs to their presentation. I think overall a very good race. Some minor mistakes costing some drivers, but there we go, a shake of hands between Margolis and Harris there, and that's what we like to see. Drivers respecting each other for what was an excellent race. A round of applause from the spectators on the balcony as well. Excellent race all round. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and we'll be back again next week for more championship racing. Thank you.